It is important to know where fear comes from, because many like to instill it. We all have things that bother us, or simply situations we don't like. Some of them we sharply fear, but that doesn't mean we're phobic. I made a video talking about the phobias that can exist in RWBY. In my defense, I said can, but I also did accuse some people of having it, so to be fair, I equal out. Many people who say that they have phobias are wrong. Having something that discomforts you and things you don't like that fall short of pathological fears are known as aversions. They disturb us without overpowering us. A phobia is an intense and unrealistic fear that causes such distress that it counts as a mental illness. Throughout this video, I'm going to be talking about specific characters who have or like to instill fear as a tactic, those who it has affected, and the problem with fear. For this portion of the video, I'm going to be talking about Yang. It would appear that Adam has successfully instilled fear into her. But how does she overcome her fear? There are many different ways to treat someone's fear, but each and every one of them involve one thing: facing that fear. One way to do that is by a method known as systematic desensitization. The person approaches the fear by degrees, first learning to relax around something resembling the feared stimulus. Yang could be triggered from either a fight, to trying to save a friend, to any of the other different variables that happened that day. She would gradually confront these fears more and more until she became more comfortable than most would be in front of that actual thing. In this case, Adam. While systematic desensitization would be the best option for her, I think she'll overcome it by something known as flooding. Flooding skips these steps and shoves you straight into it. It's when you immerse that person in the anxiety. Keep the person surrounded by the feared stimulus until the body naturally calms down. An elevated heart will eventually slow down. I believe Yang will try systematic desensitization, but flooding is her way out by coming face to face with Adam. However, flooding can end up backfiring. Those who give up by escaping the situation before the anxiety has lessened wind up with only yet another bad experience. When Yang, because we all know it will happen, when Yang confronts Adam again, it would not be a good idea for her to run away with another bad experience. She shouldn't charge head on like last time, but if she doesn't overcome it, it only consumes her more and more. Unless she plans to overcome her fear with graduated exposure, planting the client in situations that cause only minor anxiety before moving on to more triggering situations, it's either graduated exposure or flooding for Yang. Let's talk about Papa Schnee for a second. As of the making of this video, Volume 4 has only had one episode out, the premiere. So Papa Schnee has been painted into this character by those who interact with him. We haven't seen anything of him, so we can't exactly judge him firsthand. We just have to take the words of those who mention him, Weiss and Winter, his daughters. They say that he expected much out of the two. Weiss attempted to gain his approval but failed many times. Eventually, she attempted to leave her home and study at Beacon. After her father learned of this, she was forced to fight a grim possessed armor. Hence, the white trailer. Authoritarian parents who focus heavily on fear and punishment as instructional methods end up furthering their children's extrinsic motivation for staying out of trouble. Motivation to do one action or not do another solely to get an external reward, or in the Schnee sisters' case, avoid punishment. But by doing this, it fails to help them build intrinsic motivation, the desire to perform an action for its own sake. Weiss is forced to fight this armor because her father wants her to prove her worth, instead of letting Weiss do what she wants so she can show her worth in other ways. One problem with fear-based training is that it always needs to follow an action every time to be effective. If something bad happens, you must be punished, but if you do something good, you should be rewarded. Without that action every time something happens, it fails to be an effective method down the line. Punished behavior is suppressed, not forgotten. In the case of criminals, many, when released from jail, go straight back to crime simply because it's what they know best. Fear-based training relies heavily on the other person's tendency to feel fear, not everyone's fear is shared to the same degree. Another thing to look at is reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcement can be positive and negative. Punishment can be positive and negative as well. People tend to confuse the term punishment and negative reinforcement so much that if you ever hear the term negative reinforcement, chances are it was probably used incorrectly. The terms are not used in a sense of good and bad, rather in terms of math. Something gets added or taken away. If someone is given positive reinforcement, it rewards the individual by adding something. Weiss is sad, and it seems like her father would rarely hug her, so a hug from her father would help comfort Weiss. Negative reinforcement, the term that's usually used wrong, also rewards the person, but by taking something away, covering your eyes from seeing something frightful. Positive punishment delivers an unfavorable consequence by adding something unpleasant. Let's use Blake. Approaching the thing that makes you fear makes your heart race. Negative punishment hurts you by taking something away, rushing into battle and losing your arm. Chances are you'll no longer be rushing into other battles anytime soon. Moral of Papa Schnee: he seems to be an authoritarian parent whose methods will eventually fail him.
Beware as the dark returns.
So far, this whole fear topic has revolved around the bad guys. Adam invoking fear into Yang, Papa Schnee into his daughter. Granted, I don't believe Papa Schnee is a bad guy in the sense of evil, rather he's just more of a dick. But now I want to talk about Ironwood. Well, more so the police and military. I believe Ironwood is trying to play the intimidation game, trying to scare everyone and make them fear, more so the villains, but indirectly the people as well. He wants to show everyone that if you go against the law, you will lose. But what's the value in making the people of Remnant fear? When you put fear into someone, it only ends up changing their attitude rather than a person's action or intentions. We tend to change attitudes more than we change our actions. There is something known as protection motivation theory. It says that fear induces motivation to protect oneself, regardless if that means protecting by either fight or flight. Fear will influence us the most when we believe 1. We should change our behavior because the situation looks dangerous, and 2. We can change because we have effective seeming options that we believe ourselves capable of filling. Changing our attitude comes to us more easier than changing our behaviors. Fear as a motivator runs into some of the same problems punishment does. Strong deterrents work faster, but mild deterrents last longer. When a military force instills fear, it may deter those who are afraid. However, it does not correct those who are already doing the wrong. Neo seems to have been in the crime business a long time with Torchwick, but at this point with Roman gone, crime has been such a big part of her life, she's likely to turn back to it. Same with the other villains in the series. Chances of them all of a sudden taking up a good life is unlikely. Their attitude may change, but their actions stay the same. They just come up with a different excuse to be committing these crimes.
Victory is in a simple soul.
Now the ultimate fear invoker, Salem. The thing about fear is that it evokes urgency. When fight or flight kicks in, desperation urges us to do something right now. Salem, and I guess now her group, Team Witch, I presume, seem to have a bit of a terrorism motive. Illegal violence meant to intimidate or coerce a furtherance of political or social objectives. It is the systematic use of terror, a crime in which the greatest gains are symbolic or psychological satisfaction for its perpetrators. Terrorist motives are diverse. Some are very straightforward. Express outrage, get a boss out of jail, or drive a military out of a territory. Some get even more abstract and complicated. Maybe Salem wants the people of Remnant to turn on themselves. Others just want to watch the world burn. As of the making of this video, it is unknown what Salem and her group want. We don't know what their motive is, so it's complicated to understand them. However, it seems that she wishes to cause chaos and panic. Perhaps she wants the people to turn on one another to prove that people are just as monstrous as the Grim. But people can be better. Resisting impulses to turn on each other, giving one another the benefit of the doubt, tends to be the best decision in both long term and short. People who are faced with the prisoner's dilemma, the opportunity to earn freedom by turning against each other, frequently come out ahead by staying quiet and gambling that their accomplices will be quiet as well. The human race has continued because we haven't killed each other off, and I'd imagine that the same would go for the people and faunus of Remnant. If Salem wishes something severe like the extinction of the huntsmen and huntresses and its people, and if she plans on doing that by having one another turn on each other, it won't happen. Fear is a strong motivator. It can torment our minds, punish our actions, and deter us from going against it. But fear has many flaws. It is overcome time and time again. Fear will not destroy Remnant. With that said, that is going to do it for this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like, comment if you have an idea for a video you would like me to make, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.